Good morning. Today we are going to harvest some lettuce. I'm going to show you two different varieties, and I'm also going to show you how to harvest it, wash it, and then store it so that you can enjoy it later. So this morning we are going to harvest some lettuce. You can see that this is my beautiful romaine. It's starting to fill in, get really hard and dense in terms of there's a lot of great stuff in the center of these. And romaine gets real firm, almost like cabbage, not quite so tough, but real dense. So I know those hearts are full and ready for harvest. Here's my red leaf lettuce. It also has really full heads. It is definitely ready, but you can also see on the top, if I don't take it soon, you can see there's a little flower head right in there, and it is gonna bolt, which means it's gonna go to flower and it's not gonna taste good. So it's really important when you're harvesting lettuce that you get that before it bolts. And now you can see 3 days later that that flower head has now completely formed, and the lettuce itself is now putting up a flower stalk. So you can see how tall it's gotten. Now, I can still eat this lettuce, but once it starts to flower, it gets really bitter. It doesn't taste good, and I really don't like to eat it. There are a couple different ways you can harvest lettuce. You can just take off the outside leaves. So for example, you can just pop these off at the base. This romaine really cooperates because it's nice and crunchy and it breaks off real easy. And just harvest the outside leaves. And you can see my earwigs hanging out in the bottom of these leaves. They like to hang out at the bottom of the plants at night, and they can do some damage. But you can also see my lettuce right at the base of the stem is pretty dirty. But my preferred way to actually harvest my lettuce is to take a knife, go down to the base of the plant. Let's see if we can, right down in here. And I'm just gonna cut it down at soil level. And then I just clean off the bottom leaves that I don't like. You can see there's a little bit of slug and earwig damage on the actual stems, which are easy enough to remove. And then I'll harvest the whole thing so that I can leave more room in my flower bed. Actually, my garden bed. You can see there's one I harvested a while ago, and I usually leave the roots in there to break down unless they're in my way. But I'm gonna have more space in this bed when I take the whole head, and it'll prevent my lettuce head from bolting. Because I harvested this today, it's actually gonna be great in the fridge for 2 weeks before I have to eat it. Now, you can see on the bottom of this stem, I got some dirt on it, but all that white milky substance, it's a form of latex. And actually its purpose is it goes into the leaves of the lettuce during the day when it's hot, and it prevents them from wilting. And then at night, it goes back down into the base of the stem. That also is the reason why you harvest lettuce in the morning, because this milky substance, this latex, makes the leaves bitter, So if you're gonna have a salad tonight, don't wait until dinner time to harvest these lettuce heads or the individual leaves. You wanna harvest it first thing in the morning when it's sweet and delicious and the temperatures are cooler and that latex is still in the base of the plant. So now I'm gonna harvest my red leaf lettuce. And since it's open so much and not so tight as the romaine, a lot of the leaves end up sitting on the bottom. You can see I have a tendency to get more slug, earwig, and roly-poly damage. You can actually see a roly-poly moving around in there. Just jumped onto one of the bottom leaves. But I'm gonna cut this one the same way as I did the romaine. So I'm just gonna cut it at the base. And then you can see when I flip it upside down, it also has that white substance. I've got a lot more leaves here on these big old floppy red leaf lettuce. It's a tender and delicious lettuce, but it also means that I end up losing more of the bottom leaves to pests. So I'll just clean off these bottom leaves, put them in the compost pile. And then I'm gonna soak this head for sure in the sink to make sure that if there's any slugs or earwigs that I get them out before I wash them for my final eating. Water if I can. So I'm gonna take this beautiful romaine. I'm just gonna gently put it in here. Then I'm gonna grab one of these romaines that's a little bit dirty as well. Soak that in here. And I think I can probably get one more in. So we'll put one more in here. And I'm just gonna let these soak so that if there's any slugs or earwigs, so I just noticed I got a gigantic slug right here inside this leaf. So I'm just going to, I'm not a big fan of holding on to slugs. They're a little slimy. I'm gonna take this leaf outside and release this guy outside in the garden. And another little critter. It's actually a spider. So when you grow organically, you need to expect to have insects in your plants, which is okay. That means there's no chemicals on them. And spiders are a predator bug, which means they eat other bugs that like to eat my crops. So I definitely want to get this guy outside and save him. As you can see, with that initial rinse, I got quite a bit of dirt. And I got some critters off of my lettuce. So I just pulled them out of this water. And if I was going to eat this tonight, I would actually put what I was going to eat into a salad spinner and do another rinse, take all the leaves off, which I'll show you in a second. But for right now, I'm going to store these for a little bit longer. So I'm just going to let them all sit in this colander. And I'm going to have them drain so I get a good portion of the water out. And I'll make sure they're all standing up with the tips or the stems actually facing me so the rest of the water can drain out of the base. So now that these are drained, I'm going to actually put them into a produce bag that I actually got from the grocery store. I like to save these and reuse those whenever possible. And when I get them all in the bag, then I'm gonna tie up the top just to keep the moisture in there. And they'll store in my fridge for almost 2 weeks. So I've got quite a bit of time to use these lettuce heads. I'm going to finish taking the rest of the leaves off of this romaine. Then I'm going to put a little bit of cold water in here just to do a final rinse. Then I'll do a spin and I'll be ready for my salad tonight. Here's some final thoughts on harvesting lettuce. Harvest the leaves or the entire head. Harvest before it bolts or goes to flower. Harvest it in the morning when it tastes the best. Do an initial rinse and store it in a closed container in your fridge. Do the final rinse the day you plan to enjoy it.